Explain for the layman what you do.
Well, I guess the only real consumer-facing brand that people kind of in general would know would be sort of Tony Robbins. And I would say what I do is probably a lot different than that, but my job really starting at IMG, the sports agency, IMG Academy, and then ultimately going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, then Alabama, then Florida State, then a lot of places, is to really focus on how to help our really good players get better, but how to help people get out of their own way psychologically. So I'm not a clinical psychologist. Like if you said, hey, go down and help Antonio Brown right now, I would say I would be, have better luck playing in traffic than helping him.
Who is the one, what was the biggest challenge you had with an athlete or coach?
Well, I'd probably say the early challenge I had was the running back Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor, yeah, when Coach Coughlin originally hired me, he wanted to play all 16 games. And, he really didn't know how to unpack that. And I think what you figure out, and I think the book talks about this, Dan, is how do you learn to do simple better? Joe Madden talked about it all the time. How do you do the basic things well? Fred wanted to play 16 games. We found out 2 days into it that there were 17 guys on the Jaguars that had played 2 contracts or were going into 3 contracts. This is back when they had Keenan McCardell, Mark Brunell, all those guys. And all Fred wanted to do was play 16 games. If you remember his nickname back then, it was Fragile Fred. And that's not a good nickname for a running back.
Not.
And so we found out that of the 17 guys that had played 2 contracts, there were 2 common denominators that all of them had. They all showed up at either 6:30 in the morning or earlier, and they all took ice baths at the end of the day. And so we sat down with Fred. We said, all right, if you commit to doing this for the rest of the year, we think this is going to give you your best chance to play all 16 games. He's like, well, what am I going to do at 6:30 in the morning? I said, I have no idea. There must be something these guys do, and I don't like ice baths. We'll create aqua socks for you. And ultimately, it's amazing, but something simple like that. Fred played 46 games in a row, ultimately retired with 11,500 yards and was just short of Jim Brown. And it's the basic things. I think, how do you unravel little things like that?
The book is called It Takes What It Takes. How'd you come up with that? It takes what it takes?
Well, so I was working with the Memphis Grizzlies, and I was having a conversation with Vince Carter. And we were sort of talking about 3 players who had been arrested and that were struggling. And he said, how many of those guys that play college football want to play professional football? And I said, to be honest, at Florida State, Alabama, Georgia, any of these places, probably 7 out of 10. And he said, isn't it funny that they think they can do whatever they want and still be a professional athlete? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm 38 years old, and there's only a limited amount of things I can do and play at 38. I can't dunk as much now because when I land, it takes me longer to get back, and I can't eat fast food after different things, and I have to lift the days of games and all the different things. And I said, well, what do you mean? I said that there are no choices. He said, choice is an illusion. It takes what it takes. And so that there's a finite way to be good. To be good at what you do, it takes what it takes. You don't have to do it. But to me, what I've seen, Dan, in 18 years is average people become average through average aptitude or through average behavior, not average aptitude.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.